equity. You'll find them at BC. Success is what you want. Equity is when we give you the tools and help to get that success. It doesn't matter who you were before. We're here to level the playing field and create a fair world where you can succeed no matter who you are, what you look like, or where you were before. We'll tell you how on BC TV.
And now your host, Francis Mayer.
Hi, welcome to Success and Equity on BC TV. I'm your host, Francis Mayer. And what we do here on the show is share stories of success. BC is a place where things begin and change and evolve for so many people. And the great thing about it is that you don't know what's going to happen until you give it a try. There's people who start their journey at the college headed in one direction, and then fate has something else in store for them, essentially. And we're going to hear a few of those stories today. But first, a really interesting guy stopped by my office, and Belinda and I were hanging out. His name is Jeremy Stott. He used to play in the NFL, and now he teaches welding at Bakersfield College. Jeremy is the perfect case study for why education is important, and he's more than happy to tell you all about it.
Funny, you and I should bump into each other.
Yeah, I'm surprised at the moves that are going around here in BC. I thought this was Coach Damon's office, but good to see you.
Yeah, it's very good to see you too. So you, in case you don't know Jeremy's story, Jeremy, you played football for Bakersfield College, and then you went away.
Yep, I played here in 94, 95, and we were back-to-back Potato Bowl participants. I was also a track and field athlete here, and then studied well enough and earned a 4-wide scholarship at Arizona State University, where I was blessed to play in the 97 Rose Bowl as well as the 1997 Sun Bowl. The Rose Bowl was actually for a national championship, so it was actually a really good game to be a part of against Ohio State. We actually lost in the last minute, 30 seconds, but from there...
Not that you think about it every day.
Not that I don't, no, I absolutely don't. It never just sits there and rings in my ear that we could have been national champions, but yeah, Bakersfield guy, and born and raised here, and had an opportunity to play here, and went to Arizona State, and then went on to a 6-year career in the NFL with teams like Oakland, Pittsburgh, Seattle, and then finally finished with St. Louis Rams, and then decided to answer the calling and join the Marine Corps. Did 4 years in the Marine Corps as an infantry machine gunner, and then got out and moved back here to Bakersfield and married my wife, and
continue to have one of the world's most eventful existences.
Absolutely, just keep on trucking, and opened up my own foundation where I was working with troubled youth and veterans, and then decided to ride a bicycle across the country. So we're like 3,400.
There was that.
Yeah, I was bored. It's kind of like Forrest Gump. I just wanted to go for a run. And 7,000 miles later, I finished my trek with that, and I was. Wanted to get into education as far as working with troubled youth and veterans, and wanted to start a welding program through my foundation. And lo and behold, started taking classes here to get my degree. And lo and behold, I actually applied for a job here and been teaching here for 3 years now, and absolutely love it.
And we don't want to dive down too far down this path today, but also just as a quick message to our athletes and to our young people who think that, you get drafted, and you were drafted in the second round. You weren't buried, you weren't a non-roster signee, you were a scouted player.
Second round draft pick, 41st pick overall in 1998 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And
could have gone in the first round had team needs been different.
Could have went, or could have took, it was either me or Alan Faneca as far as the Pittsburgh's drafts went, or picks went, but I was a second round draft pick, 41st pick overall. So I mean, it's that's a first day draft pick. So I mean, it's a pretty good.
But life isn't set after an NFL contract.
Absolutely not. One of the biggest issues I had, even though I was a Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Lineman of the Year, second round draft choice. The one thing that always came back to haunt me was that I did not have my education. I did not have my bachelor's degree. I did not finish my schooling because I got drafted. I said, well, what do I need to get my education for? I've got $1 million contract. Well, after taxes and a few seasons into the game, hey, that money goes pretty quick.
Sure. Yeah.
And so right now I'm all about education. I actually got my AS degree here in criminal justice when I was a player.
Right.
And then I went on to get a bachelor's in liberal studies, and now I'm working on an AS degree in welding, AA degree in Spanish, and then also working on my master's of education. And once I get all that done, then I'm going to go and run for a doctorate. And because it's the only thing that holds weight. I mean, trophies, we all have trophies, and the one thing my trophies are good for is collecting dust.
Yeah, nobody is gonna. You can't bring your Pac-10 defensive player of the year trophy into a job interview and have that hold a lot of weight. It might be a good conversation starter.
Funny you should say that, because I actually, when I was living in Arizona before I went in the Marine Corps, I actually got turned down by the Home Depot. Okay, now I love the Home Depot. I'm always going to the Home Depot buying stuff. But I went to the Home Depot looking for a job.
A jobby job.
A job. I know, I need a paycheck. I need to get paid every 2 weeks because I got bills to pay. And I went in there, and of course it was a great conversation. I think the interview lasted about 7 minutes, 5 minutes of which we talked about football and Arizona State and the Rose Bowl and Pat Tillman and all those great things. And then the last 2 minutes was where the whole downfall of the conversation happened. Basically, the manager looked at me and said, "Hey, we would love to hire you here, but you know what? You make too much money in the NFL. You wouldn't be motivated enough to come to work, so I can't put you on the floor stocking shelves. And because you don't have your bachelor's degree, I can't give you a management job."
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Look, I got a Pac-10, championship ring.
Yeah, let me see it again.
Yeah. And he said, no. He said, we really would love to have you here, but you wouldn't be motivated enough to come in and make what we're going to pay you.
Wow.
And so from that day on, even in the Marine Corps, my last year in the Marine Corps, I knew I was getting out of the Marine Corps, and I told all my Marines, "Hey, when you guys get out, make sure you get your degree." And I said, what a hypocrite. Here I am. I didn't have my degree. And I'm telling my Marines to get their degrees. So I went back to school my last year, went online back through Arizona State University, finished up my degree. And I tell you what, it's been the biggest accomplishment thus far in my life, and it's been the biggest, ignition of me wanting to feel my educational needs. And like I said, at the end of the day, I'll have 5 or 6 degrees by the time I'm 41 years old.
And no one can ever take those away.
No one can ever take your education away. Like I said, we saw here a few years back, state champions in football. Everybody had the ring. We were all calling ourselves state champions, and next thing you know, it was stripped. So athletic, achievements can be stripped from you. Look at Lance Armstrong; they can be taken away. But the one thing nobody can ever take away from you is your education. Just that little piece of paper holds so much more value than even a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, you were absolutely correct. And people sometimes they hawk those down the road when they didn't get their education or can't find work.
Well, actually, there actually is a Super Bowl ring going on the market right now. It was from the very first Super Bowl. I forgot, it was it was an offensive tackle. I think it was for the Green Bay Packers. And he put it up on the auction block, and they're saying it's going to fetch anywhere from $180,000 to maybe $220,000. But it wasn't worth anything to him, so he's willing to sell it. It's like,
yeah, ultimately it is just a possession, just a thing. Can't take your education away. And you're piling on here. You're actually you're pursuing a Spanish degree right now at BC because
as we go through life, there's one thing that's essential, especially as a teacher-student relationship. It's communication.
Sure.
Communication in anything, whether it be a relationship with your parents, whether it be a relationship with your spouse, relationship with your players. Communication is everything. And with a populace of 68 to 70% Hispanic student body, it's who of me to go out there and learn their culture, their language, so that I can better communicate, so that I can instill in them some of the values that I'm trying to teach to my students. And so, if I can't tell a student a weld is hot and he goes over and touches it, he's going to find out real quick what is hot, and it's going to kind of look bad on me because, well, I told you it was hot, but yet he still got burned, so I feel bad. So if I can learn to communicate and say, "Hey, mucho caliente," back away, yeah, be good. And to me, it makes me feel better, and it builds confidence in me as an educator to be able to speak and to delegate and to teach better and more efficiently.
Yeah, and like you said, and like we've learned, there's no such thing as too much education. That's only going to help you.
No, absolutely. I believe if you're not learning, you're not living. And I don't care how old you are. I mean, if the mind is an amazing thing. I mean, a lot of people think, I'm just going to work till retirement, and then for retirement they just wait to die. They don't do anything. And it's actually been proven that people who do that actually die faster than people who actually continue to stay mentally sharp and learn new things. And so, for me, if I die with 27, 30 degrees, then so be it. But hopefully I'll be 105 years old.
And useful as all get out.
Oh, absolutely, and sharp and know all these things. But to me, like I said, those are milestones in a person's life that nobody can ever take away from. They're yours. You've earned them, and it builds a lot of respect from people around you to see, man, well, he's got his master's degree or a doctorate degree or this, that, or the other thing, because it's not forced upon anybody. It's something that you have to be motivated to do, and people, they kind of, they're not envious, but they do admire people who have those little pieces of paper that
Yeah.
say degree.
And the bottom line is, and the point that we're trying to get across is, it's not going to close any doors. It can't hurt. If you're lacking for something to do, or you're wondering why things aren't going the way you want them to go in your life, go out there and get the education you need to make them so. Jeremy's living proof of that. He's reinvented himself, I don't know, what, half a dozen times?
At least, minimal half a dozen times. Because, as athletes, we think, oh, I'm going to be an athlete for the rest of my life. Well, that's not the case. I tried to reinvent myself as an athlete a few years ago. I said I was going to start throwing again, as a track and field athlete. But hey, with kids and a wife and a job, hey, you don't have time for that anymore. And so you've got to reinvent yourself into something else. And hey, I might reinvent myself a couple more times before, my demise, if you will.
Jeremy, none of us will have any right to be surprised because you keep doing it, and you're not too full of yourself to go out and get the education you need to become the person that you want to be at that point. So, Jeremy, people can find you over in the welding department.
Absolutely, trade skills.
That's it. Awesome, Jeremy. Thank you for talking with us.
Good seeing you.
Yep, likewise.
Well, welcome back to the show. That was Jeremy Stott, and he talked about that very uniquely human ability to reinvent ourselves. It's a wonderful thing, especially if you're kind of stuck in a position that you're not enjoying. I know a lot of people in our community right now are feeling the pinch of low barrel prices. I come from an oil household, and I certainly know about it. But the thing is if you feel like the only skill that you have is out there recovering oil, whether it's as a tool pusher or a welder or whatever it is you do, you can come to BC and reinvent yourself. Coming up next in the show, we're going to talk to a guy who's very familiar with life behind the camera, but he's going to come and tell us his story. He came to BC, a guy who had a lot of experience busting his back, like in the fields and in construction, and now he's essentially our in-house Francis Ford Coppola. Coming up next on Success and Equity, we're going to talk to Manny De Los Santos. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.